Plus Sports Special Saturday. Welcome on the show. My name is Wale Scott. Now, we have lots of things to discuss today. We should have Sayo or Wajidagba on the phone to try and analyze this with us. It's really not a good story to start with, Mukael. This is not just a way to start a Saturday show. No, it's not.
It's embarrassing, isn't it?
You know, the irony, the anger that I feel is most times there's a bad feeling that comes with being vindicated. You know, there's a guilty conscience that comes with being vindicated. I said it on the show before the Olympics started, that only the Paralympians will win medals for us and we'll still treat them shabbily. It's like deja vu for me. It happens all the time. And once again, they've come and gone back, brought home 7 medals against our able-bodied athletes who came in with just 2 medals. They've been paid their allowances already. We are hearing government officials have mismanaged their own allowances. They have gotten shishi from the government so far, and they came in with 7 medals. And it's always happened. I said it before the Olympics, and I've been vindicated in a bad kind of way, really, for me.
It always feels like you're vocalizing a curse onto things when you speak.
Because it's deja vu, it always happens.
You're speaking from experience. You're speaking from a knowledge that you know for a fact that it's happened in the past, it's happening currently, and it will continue to happen again until something changes. Unfortunately, the kind of embarrassment, we're lucky that news like this seldom make it onto international awareness. Because if they did, a lot of times the IOC, if any other governing body that has to deal with international sports that we participate in, would be fining us heavily, severely, and would be finding us guilty of misconduct. Because sometimes I wonder, what is the purpose of the administrators? What is the purpose of our ministry, sports ministry? If funds have been allocated and it's gone missing somewhere, someone needs to be held responsible.
Let's read this story first off so we can have a tangible idea of what we're talking about. People out there just might not know the extent of what we're talking about. Now, anger is brewing among members of Nigeria's Paralympic team over the federal government's delay in the payment of winning bonuses that had been promised to those who would win medals in Tokyo. At a meeting in the Games Village when the Paralympics was ongoing, Team Nigeria's chef de mission, Mr. Peter Nelson, who is also the Director of Planning, Monitoring and Information in the Federal Ministry of Youth and Sports Development, assured these athletes that medalists will get $15,000 for gold, $10,000 for silver, and $7,500 for bronze, just like the government did for their able-bodied counterparts. At the Olympics, Nigeria's able-bodied team got 1 silver and 1 bronze medal. Each of these medalists got the money they were promised as winning bonuses immediately after the Olympics ended. Nigeria's Paralympics team, which won 4 gold medals, 1 silver, and 5 bronze medals, 10 medals, to place 4th in Africa and 33rd in the overall medal table, expected to receive their winning bonuses quickly, just like it had been the case with the Olympics team. This has not been happened. Weeks after the Paralympics ended on September 5th, the federal government has not yet delivered on the winning bonus payments. The failure to pay these bonuses is fueling anxiety among the medalists who don't understand why the federal government is delaying.
You know, the thing about the story that...
Now, it gets very annoying now. You know, I was feeling very emotional. Now that I've read the story out loud to myself and to the public, it's very. I'm now annoyed. I'm not emotional anymore.
You know, each of us, those of us who have homes that we take care of, at the beginning of the month, we set out a budget. Based on how much we have, we know what we want to do with it and want to make sure that the necessaries are sorted. A budget has been created for the sports ministry. And before they made promises of, you're going to get this bonus, you're going to get this allowance, surely they already knew how much they had within their coffers.
So
ultimately, a lot of this money should have been divvied up into segments, knowing that fully well that no matter what emergencies might come up, that there's an emergency rainy day fund somewhere that will handle that. And funds that have been allocated for specific reasons don't have to get touched, don't have to get bothered. It tells me that a lot of mismanagement is going on. Even if someone hasn't, spent it recklessly, embezzled it, laundered it somehow, it has probably been spent on something else. Maybe equally important, but still, maybe an emergency situation. But isn't that why they're supposed to be rainy day funds?
Okay, you're not meeting up to my anger yet. I've gone beyond your anger right now, your emotions right now. My anger is not based on the fact that the girls have not been given the money or the guys. No. My anger is based on the fact that the period that they were promised these monies was the same time they promised the able-bodied people. And they received their bonuses after the Olympics. And several weeks after theirs, they came in with 10 medals, 5 bronze, 4, and they haven't received theirs. Obviously, some hanky-panky is being played with their funds, as it's been done in the past. And I think this is not fair. And that's why I would have wanted a Seun Ajidagba who would tell them how they want it said. Nigerians don't want it said nicely. They want it said really, really harshly. And Seun is the guy who can actually...
The reason something like this could happen is because there's probably an expectation by those in the ministry that the able-bodied athletes will make more noise. People will rally around them, even though they won less medals for us. And the paralyzed, the Paralympic Olympians themselves aren't the ones that have the leverage to push public sympathy, to push and pressure the ministry. So, of course, their funds are... automatically, they should have been paid at the same time, or at the very least paid first, because they achieved more and they've done better with much less. I don't know what to say about this ministry. I don't know what to say about the way we manage our athletes in this country.
I think the problem we have right now is that you need to actually, you and I will have to take a trip to watch these Paralympians train. It's bad enough that they work with obsolete equipment. It's worse off that they don't get to drink the supplements that our able-bodied ones actually ply their trade abroad, they get their regular supplements. It's worse off that when they want to have their lunch after they finish and they want to go home, all they get is rice, yam beans, sometimes no meat, and sachet water. And somehow they still go there and perform a miracle. There's no other word to use for it. It's just a miracle that they perform, really. And they still come back and you guys still do them. I told you about a friend of mine who didn't go for this Olympics. Last time she won gold. And I was the one who escorted her to the BRT stop, pushed her chair for her, a wheelchair. She was going to the airport to travel for the Olympics. She went with BRT, dropped at Maryland, then got a bus, somehow links it to Ikeja, the international airport, met up with the rest of them there, who got there somehow too, And you don't see razzmatazz of journalists around the airport when they are traveling. You don't see that. And then they go, and they perform the miracle, come back. You still don't see the journalists there. We're welcoming them. And then they go back home, and you guys still don't give them their bonuses. This is the height of sheer wickedness, really.
You know what's interesting to me? Abroad, in the West, even in the East, China, Japan, when the Paralympians come back, there is a kind of deference paid to them because they understand that they are starting from below zero and achieving...
And they still achieve... I've got Sayo Oguntoye on the phone with me. Sayo, good morning.
Good morning to you, Analyst.
Sayo, this morning, Mukail and I are in a brutish mood, so we don't want you to say it nicely. Let's say this morning as it is. The funds promised our Paralympians have not been given to them, whereas the ones that were promised the able-bodied people have been given to them. They only came back home with 2 medals. The able-bodied men, 1 silver and 1 bronze. The Paralympians came home with 10 medals, 5 bronze, 4 gold, and 1 silver. And they still have not received their funds yet. Why do we treat these miracle workers like this?
It's a pity, really, that Nigeria is a country that has misplaced priorities. I think the people who put the flag high in international scenes or sport should be given much more heroic welcomes and promises which have been given to them should be fulfilled. I don't know how, those who run our sport in this country still are there in terms of managing the sport. Because if you look at it, these Paralympians had 10 medals. It was, an amazing feat for them. And you just relegated them to the background just because they are challenged. It doesn't speak well of how our priorities have been placed.
I have this feeling that the reason why something like this can happen and go under the radar is because our society isn't built to take care of the very needy, to take care of those who need help the most. Over there, the story of the underdog makes people weep. You hear terrible stories after tsunamis, tornadoes, and people rally. Even people who don't like each other, neighbors who don't like each other's politics. As soon as they know that someone needs help, they know they have more than that person, they're more willing to help. Whereas our society, our government, isn't necessarily set up to take care of the weakest, the most vulnerable. And these athletes are some of the most vulnerable.
I'll come to that. Sayo, I hope anybody who's watching this show now who is in the corporate sector will pardon my words. I really don't mean this to be insultive. I'm just trying to be as realistic as I can be. It's believed across the world, the corporate world has sold their soul to the devil. And it's always about making money for them. And that's why you see the corporate bodies rallying around the Okagbaris of this world, who don't even win, who have not won medals in years for us, rallying around the able-bodied men. And these are people who are actually winning medals. I've come up with 10. Out of the 10, 4 golds are amongst them. Can't there be any compassion from the corporate world? Must they always think about how they can make money off everything?
Even the idea of sorry, Sayo, I know you might want to get in on this, but I want to say this. There is an opportunity to make money even from these athletes.
Exactly.
Because if they can do what they've done with as little as they have, they can inspire generations of even able-bodied athletes, able-bodied people who don't know that they have the strength to do a lot of what these athletes have done, have accomplished. An example can be set for future generations that will know that if these athletes, with all that they've gone through, can do this and still be rewarded for having accomplished so much with so little, then what are they doing? The government is always talking about the youth are lazy. Inspire the youth with stories like this.
Okay, now Sayo, talking about, I hope I'm not vindicated eventually. Our corporate bodies, like they say across the world, have sold their soul to the devil. For them, it's about making profits and making money. They don't have any compassion. They don't care about you. If you can't make money for them, go away. They don't want you. And like Mukail just said, there must be a way. The marketers must go to work. There must be a way they can make money off these Paralympians. Out of them, 4 gold medals have come out of them from 10 medals. How can the corporate bodies always run around these able-bodied ones, or Kagbari, who hasn't won anything for us, who was actually disgraced at the Olympics, and then they look away when it comes to these Paralympians? Where are our corporate sponsors? Where are they? Where are these companies?
Wale, let me tell you something. We can start talking from now till tomorrow. Nothing will change. This is the Nigerian system. It's something we grew up to also meet in this life. Now, I want to say this, that this is just, like a Paralympics, Olympic just ended. Now, 4 years' time, we are still going to be saying this same thing. Nothing changes. It's just the Nigerian system, the Nigerian mentality of not taking care of, of those who are challenged. And come to think of it, making the country proud. What the physically fit athletes could not do, these ones are doing it. And it's just very laughable.
No, you said nothing is going to change. I understand that. I am exempting the government from my argument this morning. I am tired of talking about the government all the time. In fact, I'm beginning to sound like a broken record with the government. So I'm leaving the government out. I'm looking at our corporate world and where is their creativity? Where are they thinking? Can't they look at something out of nothing and make money out of it? Must they always think about a ready-made package? Which means our corporate bodies are not creative and have gone to bed. That's what it means.
And that shows you that it's a Nigerian thing. because these corporate bodies too, they are here in Nigeria. It's a Nigerian thing, and it's a syndrome that has eaten deep into the customs of Nigeria. In our day-to-day life, we see people where, people who need help, and we just neglect them just because they have one or two things that are not in place. I mean, it's really, really very bad.
What Shaya is saying reminds me of an argument that maybe we should consider. Why these corporate bodies are not doing more. They want to make money, and that's the purpose of private-owned business, to make money for their shareholders. The question we should worry about is, are the Nigerian public willing to be fed the narrative that the disabled are capable of as great things as able-bodied people?
Yeah.
Are they willing to take that narrative on board? Because when you're trying to tell people a story, you need to pay attention to what they want to hear, what they want to know. As Nigerians, are we willing to see ourselves in these disabled athletes? Because a lot of times when you're in traffic, you see people who look at these disabled beggars and think to themselves, why isn't he doing this? Why isn't he able to work? Just because he's missing an arm or he's in a wheelchair doesn't mean he can't learn a skill and make something of themselves. These athletes are making something of themselves.
Yes.
And our sports journalists are hardly covering them. There aren't plenty of news about what's going on in their individual lives. No one is making a documentary about them. No one is telling reality shows about their lives. But the celebrity big brothers are in. I
was going to say that we spend so much time watching a couple of people taking their bath, practically doing porn, and they go home with like 90 million. And these guys train with obsolete equipment, eat badly, no supplements, go there, win gold, come back, and the corporate bodies shamelessly look away.
And you know what is unforgivable? If you travel abroad, you will find foreigners, Canadians, Americans, Brits, other Europeans, who will look at a Nigerian and say, you know what, I watched your country at the Olympics. They will look at you as having value because of the representation a lot of these athletes have brought to the name, to the flag.
And sometimes when some of them realize, Shayo, that they didn't get half or a quarter of the equipment and the training that they got, and they still beat them to gold, that's more of the respect that comes with it.
Absolutely. You see, I have listened to both of you talk now, and I want to just say, this is not just a sport thing. It's the Nigerian thing. It has eaten deep into every sector in Nigeria. Let me give you an example. If someone sings a song now of shake, 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 these songs will sell much more than gospel songs. It will sell much more than country music. I mean, that's to show you what the people want. The people, we ourselves as citizens, we are not helping matters. And that is why this thing still continues to. Because if you look at it now, these corporate bodies we are mentioning, they are not the government. They are also people like you and I. So it's just a Nigerian thing. It's so sad that this is our mindset, this is our mentality, and I think it should change. It needs to change.
Let me say the truth right now. I might be speaking, I'm speaking for myself. I'm speaking for a large amount of Nigerians. I don't know if I'm speaking for Mukail right now or Shayo. But the truth be said, let's go to something that gives us more joy. There's nothing in Nigerian sports that gives the average Nigerian any joy. Not the Nigerian League, not the Super Eagles, not the able, nothing. There's no news that comes out of Nigerian sports today that brings any joy.
Because even when we win, the athletes, our women basketballers, our Paralympians
are protesting right now.
Yes.
Paralympians are protesting. The NBBF have split.
Those who are doing the best work and representing us the best at international competitions, they're the ones complaining the most. And
the Super Eagles come and they're actually like kings and they still don't win. Let's go to something that's going to give us a little joy, a little opium, a little high. You know, let's just leave. Let's stop. These things cost BP. If you continue like this, let's talk about bad news all the time. Now, Manchester United manager Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said he has a strong squad to choose from, despite the international break forcing his South American stars after Saturday's trip to Leicester. Fred and Edison Cavani faced each other as Brazil beat Uruguay on Thursday. Meanwhile, French defender Raphael Varane faces a few weeks out because of a groin injury he picked up in the UEFA Nations League against Spain last Sunday. Now, despite their poor form, which the Foxes have gone 4 games without winning, Solskjaer is expecting a tough trip to the East Midlands. I think Solskjaer is a confused person when it comes to team. He's talking about playing a Leicester. A Leicester who have got Jamie Vardy up front, who have got Kelechi Iheanacho, who has got Maddison somewhere in the mix to give you problems. And you are going to use Eric Bailly and Lindelof against these massive strikers. I'm talking about Amand was on the grass. Maguire was on the grass. What does this guy intend to do to stop Vardy, Iheanacho, and Maddison this afternoon?
I don't know if they have anything in their defensive arsenal that is capable of stopping Jamie Vardy, Tielemans, Iheanacho, these attacking players that are capable of opening up any defense. I would advise Solskjaer to focus solely on attacking, to try and outpace, outscore Leicester City, because that's the only thing perhaps he can match them at. They have a Ronaldo, they have a Bruno Fernandes, they have a Pogba, they have Jadon Sancho, they have potentially Rashford may even be able to make his first appearance for the season in this game. So ultimately, all he can do is hope that his team can outscore. That said, I haven't seen a lot of his tactical setup that tells me that he understands how to set up a fully functioning attack. Because these players, he seems to just go out, play your best.
Now, Sayo, do you agree with the fact that Pep Guardiola tends to not have a game plan? He reminds you of Gennaro Rowe. He just tells his guys, Solskjaer reminds you of Gennaro Rowe.
Yeah.
They don't have game plans. They just say, you guys go out and play, have fun, you know. And he has a problem with Maguire and Varane, substituted by Bailly and Lindelof against Maddison, Vardy, and Iheanacho. And I think, love it or leave it, he's going to have problems today. And Leicester is at home.
Well, I think it's a fair backline there, because taking out Maguire, taking out Bahrain, the next people we are going to bank on should be Eric Bailly also, and then Victor Lindelof. You cannot bring in a Jones who has not played a game in about 2 years or so. But I want to say that United, going into any game, are not favorites. So far, that man is still in the dugout. They are not favorites. United against Enyimba, I will go for Enyimba any day, anytime, because, like Mukai said, he's a confused person. Now, take your mind back to the international break, where these players went to their respective countries and they donned their jerseys for their country. You could see the difference between when they play for their country and when they play for United. Look at Fred, for example. Look at that beautiful assist he actually gave to Neymar Jr. What about Paul Pogba, who does not play very well for United? He goes there. He has even just bagged in another trophy. Except maybe with the exception of Anthony Martial, who is a waste both in country and in club. But every other player for United, Victor Lindelof has been solid. Varane also is a solid defender for France. Maguire also is there. I mean, the list is endless. Bruno Fernandes, Cristiano Ronaldo, Jadon Sancho, who could not even score or make an assist in United, has already done that in England. So it shows you that this man does not understand, or he hasn't found the chemistry yet. And I would like to say that this chemistry thing between players playing well for their country and not playing well for their club started also during Mourinho's time. But Mourinho was able to get results in spite of the fact that poor performances, victory is just what United needed. And with that, they were able to get trophies. But for Ole, it's not been the case.
I would even argue
very poor United, and it has shown that we cannot win any trophy.
Shia, I would even argue that the reason the Man United experiment under Mourinho failed was the clash of egos in the dressing room.
Yeah.
A lot of the players, the likes of Pogba, were constantly in the manager's face. While
Mourinho won't take that.
Yes, he wouldn't. And ultimately, what Manchester United need is a tactically proficient manager. Someone like Pellegrini, someone like Lopetegui in Sevilla. Managers who will not simply bow to the egos of these players. Conte, you couldn't bring a Conte to Manchester United and believe that Pogba will get away with playing the way he plays, off and on, off and on. He plays based on his mood for the club. But when he plays for his national team, he always feels up for it. I have not watched Pogba play badly in any international match. And he doesn't get into the squad, into the first team, simply because he's so important to his club. He gets into the national team, first team, because of how well he plays for them.
Okay. The other matches this afternoon, of course, the blue side of Manchester. Pep Guardiola has insisted that it's never personal when he chooses to leave a player and when deciding his starting 11. It comes after Raheem Sterling spoke about potentially leaving Man City due to a lack of game time. John Stones is also yet to feature for Pep's side in the league this season. But the City boss believes his players have to do the talking on the pitch to earn their place in the team. Now, both Sterling and Stones could feature against Burnley today, with Ferran Torres set for a spell on the sidelines after breaking his metatarsal whilst away with Spain. Now, how does a player prove his mettle on the field of play if he doesn't play?
Well, I think Sterling has plateaued in his abilities. And Pep knows that. Pep understands that as a forward, as a winger, he's very useful. But when you have Grealish, who is more technically proficient, who is pacey, maybe not as quick as Sterling, but can hold on to the ball better, can communicate with the ball with the likes of Griezmann, with the likes of De Bruyne, Mahrez, Bernardo Silva, Phil Foden. He can communicate with the ball better than Sterling can. You have to ask yourself, where does Sterling fit in that team? Because Pep has experimented with playing him as the number 9, but he's not a classical number 9, and he doesn't even play. He doesn't have the instincts to play as a number 9. When you consider that occasionally Pep understands that he doesn't have a strong number 9, but he has to play Gabriel Jesus in the match. Gabriel Jesus ends up on the wings, which means less opportunity for Sterling. Ferran Torres, he can play as a number 9, a false number 9. And he's so good out wide, and he can score. He's a better dribbler than Sterling, even though maybe not as quick. He's a better crosser of the ball than Sterling. So where does Sterling fit? He is, in my opinion, Sterling has fallen down the pecking order, not just because the manager has had a disagreement with Sterling, but because the players that are in the squad, the players that are playing in his position, are all much better technically than he is.
Sayo, would you agree with the fact that Guardiola is not being sentimental when it comes to selection, and that people like Sterling already have replacements, even John Stones?
When someone is actually too brilliant or sabi book well, it's a problem. And I would like to start with that when it comes to Pep Guardiola. We know he's one of the best in the world when it comes to coaching. But you do, like I always tell people, you do not need a Grealish in that team. What you needed was a striker. Because Jesus has not been firing up all cylinders. Aguero has just left. You needed someone to replace an Aguero. Because he was only looking for problems the moment Grealish came. We all thought Harry Kane was coming at the summer, but he only knew what he wanted to do in his mind. And like I always tell people, you cannot start a football match without a striker. It's like you are relegating that department to the background.
But Sayo,
just like,
sorry, Sayo,
okay.
Can I cut you off there?
Okay.
The original plan was obviously to not only just get Grealish, but also to get Harry Kane. The truth is, there are not a lot of strikers that fit into the kind of mold of strikers that Pep Guardiola needs, that the Manchester City needs, that can fit in well. We've seen great strikers like Ibrahimovic play under Pep Guardiola. And even when they did well, they didn't give him everything he was looking for. He could have potentially gone for someone like Lewandowski, but Lewandowski maybe didn't want to leave Bayern Munich. Lewandowski was over 30. Lewandowski maybe doesn't take every aspect of what he needs in a striker. Harry Kane potentially was the best option, and Levy just wasn't going to allow him to leave for anything less than £200 million, maybe 170. And if he decided to go, because even last season we already saw that Sterling had fallen down the pecking order. He wasn't as much favoured with Pep Guardiola as he had been in previous seasons. So perhaps it was inevitable that someone else, if not Grealish, another winger, another left winger would have come into that squad to replace Sterling. The plan clearly wasn't to only buy.
Now let's
Grealish.
look at the fact that a coach who can be described as a savior to most people is now in Watford. And they take on Liverpool, who are smoking hot right now, who are firing on all cylinders, have not lost the game this season yet. And they're going to be going up against what Nigerians call an Agbawu when it comes to coaching in football. Yeah. And do you think, for some reason, Klopp will be taught a footballing lesson today?
Well, I mean, Ranieri isn't a manager that you think of flash when you think of football.
He's not a fluke.
Yeah, but he's not a fluke either.
Yeah.
He knows how to set up a team. Like you said, he is a very experienced manager. But sometimes, you know how experienced managers have a way of doing things. And they can tend to overthink certain situations. Going up against a Liverpool, knowing what they are capable of, knowing what the manager is capable of doing, knowing that the squad is a better squad than Watford has.
He's going to play safe.
He might play safe, and that might play into the hands of Liverpool, who want to pressure you, who want to win back the ball, recycle it as quickly as possible in your half of the pitch, and keep coming at you.
By supper time today, Sayo, by supper time, I'm purposely not asking Kyle that question. By supper time today, are we going to see Chelsea still on top? They go against Brentford. That should be easy.
Well, it's going to be an explosive game. Very explosive. I do not see Brentford, giving Chelsea an easy time, because Brentford against big boys.
What can Brentford even do, Zef?
The EPL this season.
Really?
Fantastic. They've never come back to defend. They've always gone like the way we saw Leeds last season, attacking. So, and then don't forget also that Chelsea has a good squad, a very technical coach also in person of Thomas Tuchel. So it's going to be a very explosive one. I think we're going to see goals on both ends. Chelsea will score, Brentford also will score. But I don't know if I can actually go back to that Man City game.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. For me, I think I'll disagree with Mukayo, because if you look at Sterling's stats last season, he was one of their best players. No doubt, no disrespect to the other players, and Ilkay Gundogan, who was brilliant for them last season. But Sterling also was on a sterling performance for them last season. Now, when you bring in a player like in the mode of Jack Grealish, you are going to unsettle someone, and that is just the truth. Having coming from the back of a fantastic season he had last season, I think it was so bad. It's been so bad for Sterling in terms of how he has been treated. Because the truth is, Sterling has actually improved under Pep Guardiola. And is it how you're going to repay someone who has improved under you? So I think Jack Grealish coming into that squad is only going to unsettle a star, and that star has happened to be Raheem Sterling. Don't forget, they also have Ferran Torres. They also have Riyad Mahrez. So you can't even say precisely that this is how City are going to set up their front three. We can't, and that is why the only vacant position is that number 9 position, which I felt was the needed department more, which it should have gone for.
Can I respond to?
Only went on to
Sayo.
Now Sterling is not happy.
Sayo, as good as Sterling is, we know that at Manchester City under Pep Guardiola, it is not enough for you to have improved and to be good. You have to keep improving. And when Sane was around, he wasn't improving. He was good, and we've seen just how good he can be for Bayern Munich. But he wasn't improving anymore. His abilities had plateaued. And if you look, Gabriel Jesus might be gone by this summer. Not just because they need a new striker, but because he doesn't live up to the expectations of why he was gotten. He was the first name on the shopping list for Pep Guardiola, even before he came to Manchester City. While he was still at Bayern Munich in his last season, by January, the deal had been agreed. Pep Guardiola wants his players to continue to be more dynamic. Players like De Bruyne are irreplaceable because of how well they do. But a lot of times, even when Sterling doesn't play, when you look at the options that were available to Pep Guardiola, Ferran Torres, Mahrez, Bernardo Silva up front, Phil Foden, and when Aguero was still firing, a lot of times Sterling didn't need to play. Fine, he had improved, but I believe he has reached his plateau. And that technical need on Pep Guardiola's part meant that other players would naturally be ahead of him.
Okay, guys, we have to move forward. Mukail, somewhere along the line, I'm beginning to suspect you and maybe tag you Mukail de Nostradamus. You know, you spoke about the Indian Wells, about how you are so impressed about the Zverevs, the Tsitsipas, but you're also impressed at some unknown names we didn't know.
Yes.
Now, I didn't see this coming. Zverev crashed out yesterday. So did Tsitsipas. The names that we're all brandishing and saying, these are the future of... Now, number 31 seed Taylor Fritz stormed back from a set down and saved 2 match points before eliminating third seeded Alexander Zverev, 4-6, 6-3, 7-6, 3. Now, in the quarterfinals of the BNP Paribas Open in Indian Wells, California, both Zverev and second seeded Stefanos Tsitsipas of Greece were upset in the round of 8 earlier in the day. Now, Georgian 29th seed Nicol Baskiveli took down Tsitsipas 6-4, 2-6, 6-4. Now, the other semi-final will pit 21st seeded Cameron Norrie of Great Britain against 23rd seeded Belgian Grigor Dimitrov after each player notched upset wins of their own during Thursday's action. We're talking off-air, Mukail, a few seconds ago doing that. This is where that mental health issue comes from. Zverev looking very tired, looking distraught, and you are still making him talk. This is what causes the depression that comes forth that Naomi was fighting about.
Yes. I know a lot of sports journalists might believe that, you know what, previous tennis players used to get on with it. They would answer the questions, go home, recharge, and come back the next day, because that's what being professional is. But in no other kind of profession in the world do you have to listen to a bunch of people question your failures. Because even if you had fallen, the fact is people put pressure, put expectations on you. Maybe you're good, maybe you're capable, but it's other people's expectations that put the pressure on you.
No doubt. Now, Shai, before I let you go on the show this morning, the names we're brandishing all this while are not the names that are here. We had Tsitsipas on our lips, Mukail and I. It didn't work, he's out. We had Zverev, Alexander Zverev is out. We are seeing names like Fritz. The only name that is popular here so far in the Indian Wells is Dimitrov. It's the only Dimitrov that is left there. The rest names are just new names we didn't expect will make it here.
Yes, absolutely. It's a surprising one, really. The big names are out. The Tsitsipas is out. And guess what? The semi-final is actually going to be an amazing one because look at Dimitrov like and Cameron Norrie. It's going to be a fantastic one. Possible we might have one of these young guns coming up and becoming a true champion. And the other semi-final also between Taylor Fritz and Mismanage is also going to be a fantastic.
Okay, Sayo.
All in all, among these four, we are going to have a new champion in the Indian world.
Okay, Sayo, I want to thank you very much for joining us this morning. Thank you very much.
Always a pleasure.
Love it or leave it, Mukail. Some societies across Africa still believe women are the vulnerable animals and they should be
protected.
Not protected, treated like they are dirt. And we've seen 2 major deaths in Kenya And so it sparked a protest in Kenya now, violence against women. And both of them were sportsmen. One was stabbed to death in her apartment. One was found raped and killed by a river. She was only 17. Cynthia, this is very touching, it's very emotional. So if you know you can't take it, please. Her name is Cynthia Makoka. She was a 17-year-old student and volleyball player. Agnes Tirop was a 25-year-old rising athletic star who finished 4th in the 5,000 meters race at the Tokyo Olympics and had won 2 World Championships bronze medals. Both women were found dead in Kenya this week. And while their murders are not linked, they have shown a spotlight on violence against women, which the government says has grown worse since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. Tirop was found in a bed at her home in the town of Eaton with multiple stab wounds to the neck. Police said that they arrested a man they described as her husband, whom they called the main suspect. Makoka, who was a student at the Kibera Girls Senior Academy in Nairobi, was raped, killed, and then dumped in a river. One girl untied her sweatshirt from around the waist to cry into it. Another clutched a poster saying, "Stop this killing." In one week, a promising 17-year-old footballer found dead in a river, raped and killed and dumped in a river. That same week, a medal winner for Kenya, a hero in the country, won a medal in the 5,000 meters, found stabbed numerous times in her neck. Her husband has been named as the main suspect for now. But well, we can't judge him yet until he's found guilty. But at that, this is the lot of female women in Kenya. We are only hearing this because they are actually sports hopefuls, and there are many more that are happening that we have no idea. Many more.
This story is relevant to us because obviously this is a sports show. But this goes on in all parts of the world. There was a time last year, and even still going on till now, that protests in India about women being raped. And we know that a lot of these countries, especially Muslim countries, where there are rules within families that if a girl is going to go out, if a woman is going to go out, she should be accompanied by someone. A man, a woman, anybody, just to put her in a group setting that she doesn't have to be worried about being victimized. Unfortunately, in our world, the weak are always victims because the wicked always seek the weakest amongst us. If it was a man who was small in stature, short, incapable of defending himself, someone might rob him, mug him on the streets, strip him, embarrass him. Unfortunately, more stories of victims seems to be with women. And it tells a very bad story about us as human beings. Athletes like these who are both potential already making a name for themselves, already potentially very much in public eye.
In extension, making a name for the country.
For the country, or in the case of the young 17-year-old, with so much ahead of her, she might still make so much more, bring so much more attention.
In Kenyan female football, come on. Well, I had to leave you with that. I'm sorry I did. First, I started the show with
something sad
that can make you angry, and then I apologize. But that's the situation Kenyan women have found themselves, and in many other cases in Africa too. But we are talking about this on this show because these are sports women who were both killed in Kenya, and this is a sports show. Plus Sports Special and Plus TV Africa. Join us same time next week. Thank you very much, Sayo Oguntoye. Thank you very much for joining us via phone. And I hope, hopefully, Bukayo, when we come next week, we won't have too many sad stories. Hopefully. We'll have lots of.
But even if we do, it's what we do.
Yeah, it's what we do, really. Bukayo, of course, join us same time next week, Plus Sports Special. My name is Wally Scott. Like I always advise you at the end of every show, if not for anything, at least for your heart, do some sports.